RJ, how about you kick us off with topics this week?
Yeah, so we talk a lot on this podcast about like life changing our setup or different factors. We go from being on a United hub to a Delta hub, so we have to retool, or we were big into Hyatt and now we're looking at IHG or Hilton. So those are all decisions we're making, right? Or decisions work is making and saying you must fly American. Sorry, kid, but that would be rough. So those are all decisions coming from us or coming from our side of the equation. But banks change cards. Possibly about to get a big change that'll affect both of my coworkers or both of my co-hosts. It's been a long day, guys. And those changes might change your relationship to that card and if it fits in your life or if it doesn't. So, how do you navigate that side of the equation where the banks can at any time say, we're going to change this multiplier that was key to the reason you had the card? Do you have redundancy built in your system so if that happens, you don't have to apply for something? Or do you have a rolling list of if they change this card, I'm going to apply for this one? Lonnie, as somebody who definitely is a fan of portals and what those portals do for you, I'm going to go to you first.
For sure. Good question. Now, in my opinion, I say that if the bank were to change something, the first thing that I would do out once it's official, once we cross that bridge and we know it's fact, Matt, it's fact. Okay.
Why am I
When
catching
it's
this?
fact, is reevaluate what did actually change. And like you said, there's a couple of things that changed. This Sapphire, which is one of my favorite cards in my wallet, one of the most powerful cards for me in my wallet, is it still just as powerful? And there's many factors that could affect that. One, annual fee going up. Great. That, yes, it sucks. I don't want to pay more, but I can get over that. I just did a video about how the United Explorer card went up to 150 and it's still worth it. That type of stuff. So I'm not going to get rid of that card. And I'll do the exact same thing with the CSR when we know officially what's going to happen. The other aspect of it is it's understanding. So outside of the money part, the annual fee part, but what's the stuff that makes you want the card? And it don't effing say design. If you're gonna say design, go sit in the corner, like straight up. Just it looks good. You go. I can't say it, but go sit in the corner. But for myself, one kicking it right off, $300 travel credit. The most easy thing. I burn 40% of that credit by accident on that card every single year. Completely by oh crap, I spent $5 at a parking garage. I guess I'm not paying for it. Or like those types of things. Yeah, yeah. You take I guess a Lyft or a ride share wouldn't be by accident, but it's man, I was really saving that for X trip, and then $40 is gone. Literally, because it's that easy to use. But $300 is $300 no matter how you stack it, so I'm not really mad. If that goes away and my annual fee goes up almost 150 something dollars, then yeah, that's going to reevaluate those types of things because it's not about effective annual fee. It's I actually use that credit the way that credit is intended. I'm also really big on the travel portal. I've mentioned it, especially when it comes down to the simplicity of it all. But there is so much value, and everyone that wants to say you're only getting 1.5 cents per point, once again, you're not doing the full math because you don't know how I got those points and the value in which I earned said points. I might have earned them at 0.1 cent per point or whatever you want to call it. So I'm getting like 10, 15x when I do that, which is better than transferring them out. Do the math. But if that stuff goes away, that's a huge reevaluation that I need to look at. But the other aspect of it is make sure that you always have a plan B. So it's easy for me to say, you know what? The CSR just hypothetically just added a whole bunch of new stuff. But they've also covered parts of other cards in which made me drawn to them. For example, $500 in edit credit, it's more than $200 in fine hotel and resorts credit that I get on my platinum. So that little annual fee raise could actually end up saving me $695 a year because of that, if that makes sense. So there's not just, I need to reevaluate this card. It's what am I getting and what can it also replace at the same time? Now, I've also mentioned, I think in my last video that I put out, you're never, I don't think anyone's ever getting 100% of all the credits, perks, and benefits on that a card provides them. Hey, we're going to give you $300 credit to go buy concert tickets. Where's my $250 babysitter credit then? Because I'm not going to any concerts anytime soon. You know what I mean? Or I have talked about the Resi credit on my gold. That's $100 credit that I throw away down the trash every single year because I just can't get. I don't live near a Resi restaurant, and once again, where's my babysitter credit? Because all these reservations start at 5 o'clock, which is exactly when dad duties start. So that's just getting thrown away. So now they're like, "Oh, we're going to give you credits for Chase restaurants." Okay, is Chase restaurants in walking distance? Is it around the corner? Because if it's not the Mexican place with the awesome banging tacos around the corner, then I'm probably going to be missing out on that credit as well. So it's just a type of balancing act. But more importantly, if it can start pushing me in one direction, that's great. But if it can start taking away from me having to have 15, 16, 12, 8, however many credit cards are in your wallet, I think that's the part that a lot of people, once again, aren't doing the full math on. It might have caused some issues, but it may have solved more issues at the exact same time. But going back to the original part of your question, the foundation in which I got the card, I don't want to change my lifestyle that much. So keep my 1.5. Heck, make it 2.0 on certain partners. Make it 2.0 and on whatever. But don't take away my 1.5. Don't take away my 300, because these are actual things that I use for various reasons in various ways. And they are the number one, number two reasons on why I have the card. Now there is a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's a way more. But if you take away the foundation, then no, there's absolutely no point for me to keep it at that point. And that's the way that I look at or approach a reevaluation of it.
Also, one thing to keep in mind for the listeners out there is these changes are going to take effect before most of your annual fees come about. So you're able to test drive the new look of a card before your annual fee. If your annual fee is 2 months after the launch of something, then yeah, you might be out of luck. But if you're 7, 8, 9 months out, you're going to get a pretty good bite of the new card before you actually have to pay that higher fee. Matt, as somebody who does not have maybe the amount of cards Lonnie and I do, you have quite a lot of the $0 annual fee cards, but not quite as many of the higher end cards. By your own admission, when we played the credit card discard game, how do you feel about when the banks are changing it and it's not driven by you or your lifestyle or something to that effect?
Lonnie said, and I'm sure you'd agree, once the change is made, it's the first thing you should do is start reevaluating and starting to look at, how does this fit? Does this fit what I do? Does this fit my current lifestyle? If it doesn't fit, is there, like, how big of a shoehorn would I need in order to keep this card if I'm going to try to make keeping this card a priority? You have to answer a couple of different questions to yourself. Does this card fit now my strategy going forward? If Lonnie and I both hold the Sapphire Reserve still has the 1.5 redemption, or still has the ability to go through the portal, and the portal is treated like a cash booking, so I can save and I have that 1.5, great. Like, everything else may not be a huge issue for me because, okay, the multipliers changed. Multipliers on flights in the portal went from 5 to 8. Awesome. I'm now getting 12% back when I book through the portal. Oh, flights went from 5 to 8, and I can use I can use the redemption across the portal. Oh, great. I'm getting 12% back on booking a cruise. I'm getting 12% back on attractions. I'm getting 12% back. There's that. And then you may have to counterbalance that with, oh, I'm losing 3x travel across the board, but now my 4 times points on hotel bookings direct and 4 times points on flights direct, guess what? That's 6 times points in the travel when I go to book a cruise, or when I go to book an attraction or a tour or something like that. So when the math changes, if the math changes in a way that doesn't adversely affect your ability to utilize the card and drive value out of the card, you're good. Essentially, you don't have to worry about it. And especially if you go through the portal and you're getting 8 times points, and let's say part of let's say hypothetically, I'm going to keep picking on the Sapphire Reserve, and American Express came out and said, we're going to be making changes in the fall. Now you got to start anticipating those changes in the fall. What are they going to be? How does this affect the card? Will this affect my relationship with that card? You've got a couple months to think about that until they make the announcement, not to try to induce anxiety in my co-host, but the banks are always going to make changes. They make changes on a relatively regular time scale. It's usually about 5 years for premium cards. Non-premium cards can last a little bit longer. Looking at the City Double Cash, looking a little bit at the City Custom Cash. I don't remember when the heck that card came out, but like the Freedom Unlimited got changed back in 2020. The Freedom Flex got introduced in 2020 or 2021. So like these cards come around get updated all the time. So you have to take into account like what the bank has done, reassess, and then ask yourself the question, am I better off with the new card? And if I'm not better off with the new card, where am I going to go to get that same value? And once you answer the first question, the second question gets a lot easier. Like Chase loses the 1.5 in the portal. Chase kills off the ability to gain elite knights in the portal. Chase strips down the edit for whatever reason because they woke up drunk and stupid. Maybe the Sapphire Reserve isn't for me going forward. But let's say Chase keeps the 1.5. Let's say Chase expands as part of the announcement, like expands and says, hey, going forward, you're now going to get your IHG status reflected when you book through the portal. You're going to get your Hyatt status reflected when you book through the portal. And you're going to get your Marriott status reflected when you book through the portal. Guess what? The portal just became my best friend. Why? Because now the Sapphire Reserve would become the instant #1 best overall Hyatt card ever, because you earn 8x points, and when you go to redeem those 8x points, you don't have to transfer. You can transfer to Hyatt for some relatively good value if you want, or you can get a 12% return at Hyatt through the portal if that's what they do, and everything like comes up Millhouse. Not everything's going to come up Millhouse, obviously, but you do have to just take what they give you, and then if it fits. If it doesn't fit, that's when you start looking at what your changes are going to be. Where am I if the Sapphire Reserve becomes a card that I can no longer hold? Man, I don't know. But I don't have to think about that until it becomes a card I no longer have to hold. I can no longer justify holding.
No, I think both of those answers are very strong. It feels less fair is not the right word, but it still feels less fair when it's not us making the choice or making the lifestyle decision or having our lives change. But banks are going to do what's in the best interest of the banks and their partners before they're going to do what's in the best interest of all of us. They are a business, as we are so fond of saying on this podcast. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, I will be interested what they do with the platinum. Lonnie and I are both platinum holders, and I think Kid is as well. So when that drops, we're going to be just as eagerly anticipating what the changes are as everybody is with the Sapphire Reserve. So it's going to be an interesting time because fall could be September, fall could be November. Nothing like a Thanksgiving, Black Friday card drop. We'll see what goes on.
Oh, that would be evil.
I need Amex to do 1.5 in their travel portal and at least double the FHR. Give me you can do the one time I'll actually say, give me 6 months versus 6 months. The first half and back half of the year, 200 and 200 and 1.5 in the Amex travel portal. Man, I might have to cash out my Chase points and just go full Amex if they did that.
If the platinum is 1.5 everything, I would also be really happy. I would get rid of the Blue Business Plus at that point immediately. I would take half a point haircut.
You mean if just earn 1.5 every time you swipe? Like they got to do something. They got to do something there.
Yeah.
The whole 5x on flights and 1x on everything else that exists in the world is just not cutting it. It's not.
They could. That would be something. That would get people talking.
Yeah.
I would like 2, but I'll take
5 and 1 is
5.
not.
No.
5 and 1 is just not competitive anymore.
No.
Yeah, not at that price point.
Banks also do not care about you as an individual until you own about 9% of the shares that are publicly available to that bank. Then they start to care who you are real quick.
How hard it is to get 9% of the shares?
I know how hard it would be to get 9% of the shares of a bank, but if you get 9% of the shares in any company, They care who you are.
Matt is slowly
51%.
trying to create shell corps to buy Wells Fargo stock. I can see it now.
Anyway, before my dealings become too much more public,